This is the Big Ten on ESPN. And tonight, 7 months after they won a national championship, South Carolina is in town as the number 4 ranked team in the country, taking on number 15, Maryland. Should be a good one tonight, and we welcome you to College Park. Pam Ward along with Hall of Fame coach Gail Guest. Of course, Maryland has 3 new starters, but you look at the South Carolina team, and they have a lot of new faces as well.
Well, they do. Yeah, they lost 3 starters to the WNBA. They returned their point guard, Ty Harris, which is really important, but it's A'ja Wilson, everybody's favorite to win the National Player of the Year, that comes back.
Good to have her back. And Brenda Frese now for the University of Maryland. Her task tonight is how to stop A'ja Wilson and the rest of the Gamecocks.
We got to dig in. What coach tell you? The teams that out-rebounded them, that's who they lost to last season. Well, you know what? I mean, that's exciting, right? That's who we are. Tonight is going to be a lot of fun. Soak it up with great energy. Okay? If you need to do a little breathing, do your breathing. All right? But soak up the energy because you are prepared for this test tonight. Let's go get it.
South Carolina only lost 4 games all of last season, and then they were able to win a national championship. Brenda Frese won a national championship in 2006, and the hair is au naturel tonight. She's no longer straightening it. That's why the new do for the coach. And
she said it saves her 2 hours.
Yes.
Getting ready for the game. I said, you need every moment to get ready for this game.
Both teams won their season openers in relatively easy fashion. A'ja Wilson wins the tip, and we are underway. Tyasha Harris, the only other starter back with the ball in her hands. And we need to mention that Bianca Cuevas-Moore will not play tonight. Second straight game she has been out with a sprained knee. She was very key in their title run last season.
And you can see Maryland starting off in a zone. They're going to force the South Carolina guards to hit those 3. And Ty Harris says, I have worked my tail off in the offseason for just these moments.
Hits that first 3. She only hit about 1/3 of them last year. Coach Dawn Staley said that she kind of took offense to people playing off of her on defense. Turnover, Harris with the miss. And Maryland comes up with the basketball. Kyla Charles, number 5 in white, may be the most important player for Maryland right now.
Well, she is. She's so versatile. We talked to her today at shoot-around, and she said, I love this team. She said, Coach Frese has given us freedom to bring the ball down the floor. And Blair Watson, that's another player that is stepping up. She hit that big 3 right there.
Watson not 100% healthy last year, did not play a whole lot of minutes. As we get our first foul call of the night. Both teams had a combined 5 players go in the top 10 of last year's WNBA draft, and a quick substitution for Maryland as Brianna Frazier comes in.
And Frazier coming off a career night in their first game. You're going to see a lot of new young faces that are really stepping up for both of these teams.
And they're going to have to do that, filling up. Both teams lost 3 of their 4 starters, and 3 of their 4 top scorers. Both teams won both their regular season and tournament championships. Maryland winning the Big Ten championship, but going out prematurely when they lost to Oregon in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, both of these teams have been dominant in their conferences over the last 3 years.
South Carolina's taking 3s. That's a whole new look. Lindsey Spann, she's from Laurel, Maryland, right up the road from College Park. A graduate transfer from Penn State. And Dawn Staley said that she didn't realize, she knew she was a good shooter, but she's even better than she anticipated.
Well, and Spann, she said earlier, she said, I've played against these Maryland Terrapins. I feel very comfortable.
Watson missing from outside.
And you're going to see, now you see Maryland picking up full court. They're going to change their defenses. They do not want South Carolina to get comfortable. Little zone press, a little 1-2-2.
Brenda Frese especially wanted to switch things up on A'ja Wilson. And Wilson's being moved around more on offense this year, so she doesn't just get stuck in one place. There's a nice pass from Wilson. Give her the assist as it goes inside to Alexis Jennings, who is a transfer from Kentucky.
Yeah, we see a lot of transfers out here. And they've had a big impact, especially for South Carolina last year, winning that national championship.
Another outside shot off the mark from Spann. And Tynan Napier calls a foul. You talked about those transfers, Gail, and there are a lot of them. And they come in. Spann was able to play right away, got her degree at Penn State after 3 years. Taya Cooper, who they hope to have when the semester changes over, and Alexis Jennings, who sat out last year after transferring from Kentucky, and Jennings just hit that basket. South Carolina has streaked out to a 13-3 lead. Believe it or not, this is only the second time these two teams have met, the last one coming way back in 1997. And some of these players weren't even born yet. Outside shot, and that is put home by Stephanie Jones, a sophomore, the younger sister of Brianna Jones, who was taken in the WNBA draft. She had 18 rebounds, by far a career high in their season opening win against Albany.
Yeah, this sophomore class, it was the #1 recruiting class in the country, and several of them are coming off of injuries last year, so we're really starting to see them find their groove, and I think they're going to be key for this Maryland team this year.
Yeah, Jones tore her ACL in January of her senior year, so Stephanie was not close to 100% last year, and we forced a travel on A'ja Wilson. And A'ja Wilson has not gotten into the scoring column yet.
And we had a really nice talk with A'ja today, and she talked about, you know, she's most proud of her leadership skills. She takes it very seriously. She said it's a young team. There's lots of teaching going on, so they've got to have patience. She said, last year I just knew, you know, I threw the ball up to Alicia Gray or somebody. I knew they were going to make something happen with it. She said, now I've just got to be a little bit more careful with these young ones.
Yeah, as they're trying to kind of feel each other out. Elena Coates, Alicia Gray, Kayla Davis combined for 51% of South Carolina's points last year. They have all moved on to the WNBA. Coates not playing last year, recovering from a foot injury. But both of these teams similar in that they're trying to figure things out. Jennings, good crash to get the rebound. And then Wilson is bumped by Confroy. And Maryland is a team that has been known perennially. They are in the top 1 or 2 in rebounding, and things might be a little bit different this year.
And that's, you know, you heard Coach Freeze talk about it in the pregame. The teams that beat South Carolina last year, and there weren't many, they out-rebounded South Carolina. Well, that has always been a strength of Maryland. 6 years in a row, they have led their conference in rebound differential. Last year they were second in the nation, the year before first, so it's something that they're very good at year in and year out. They're going to need it tonight to stay with South Carolina.
They also need to take care of the basketball. They had 21 turnovers in their win against Albany, and they've not taken care of it so far tonight. And Alexis Jennings off to a terrific start. She's got 6 points. Played a couple of years at Kentucky where she averaged 9 points per game, and the lead is back up to 10. Inside, and the dish to Stephanie Jones. And Maryland starting Shanice Lewis, a true freshman from Miami, getting her first collegiate start.
And I really like this kid. She's a coach's point guard. She doesn't make many mistakes, but she's a freshman, you know, and when you're playing a tough game like this, big time, it's tough on freshmen. So she's doing a good job early on. She's going to have to run this offense.
Another shot by Jennings is off the mark, kept alive by Spann, and Maryland fouls again. 15-7, the defending champs off to a great start in College Park as we take a timeout.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Domino's. Oh yes, we did.
Dawn Staley and the rest of South Carolina presented their national championship rings at halftime of a football game, and that's a nifty looking ring.
That's a big ring. And you know what's great about Dawn Staley? At halftime of their Alabama State game, their last game, she gave everyone that has ever played for her at South Carolina or Temple a replica ring of that national championship ring. And it's like, it just goes to show the great vision that she has. You know, we asked her what if there's one thing that stood out, you know, with all the memories she has of that national championship. She said not one thing. She said it's just was the ability to share it with everyone who's had a part in this. And she said, and it's everyone.
Yeah, she said everybody in my basketball tree, and she, you know, shelled out her own money for replica trophies, and people at Temple where she was before she took over South Carolina. Believe it or not, this is her 10th year at South Carolina. And Gail, Maryland's got a problem right now. That's her 5th turnover, and it has led so far to 7 South Carolina points. Actually, not a turnover. It looks like Maryland's going to hang on to it.
Well, yeah, they are turning the ball over, but it's also the lack of rebounding. They only have 1 rebound right now, and we talked about in the open, and Coach Freeze knows about it. They've got to rebound the basketball.
South Carolina up by 10 points. Aisha Small, one of the veterans on this team, the senior, misses another board for Alexis Jennings. And now Harris pushes the pace. A'ja Wilson has only shot the ball 1 time and has not scored for South Carolina. Here come the Terps. Small over to Frazier. And back rims it. They've gotten some good looks, but just a lot of jump shooting right now.
Yeah, and again, these are young kids that some of them haven't been in this position before. They're used to coming off the bench. So they've probably got some jitters right now.
Maryland having to use a new point guard because National Freshman of the Year Destiny Slocum transferred at the end of the season. And your likely National Player of the Year, A'ja Wilson, gets her first bucket.
Yeah, and that's a great set that South Carolina loves to run against zones. They set a screen on that middle of the zone, and A'ja Wilson knows what to do with it when she gets it.
And a little body up there on Small, and that's the first foul for South Carolina, goes against Lindsey Spann. Coming up, the 7th annual State Farm Champions Classic from the United Center in Chicago. For the top teams in the nation, #1 Duke taking on #2 Michigan State, and then it's Kentucky and Kansas. Terrific night of hoops. Also streams live on the ESPN app. That comes your way tomorrow night. Nice 1 versus 2 matchup early on in the season in men's basketball. Connecticut emphatically off to a good start. The #1 team for the women this year, handling Stanford easily over the weekend. Brianna Frazier, a 6'3" junior, had a double-double in the win against Albany. And Kristen Confroy back in for the Terps. And that's a nice turnaround for Makia Herbert-Harrigan, known as Kiki to her teammates.
She is a smooth operator. She's got such great skills. Can face up, can put it on the deck. Really came through in the NCAA tournament last year, seemed to grow and grow with her confidence grew. And she's picking up where she left off.
Maryland hangs on to the ball with a new 30 seconds on the shot clock. Herbert-Harrigan really started getting going, didn't she, in the SEC tournament? And that all carried over. She went into the weight room during the offseason. All these players knowing that there were so many holes to fill on this team. Small with a nice drive. Aisha Small, the transfer from Baylor.
And one of 2 seniors on this team, so she knows what it takes. So I expect her to have instant offense when she comes in off the bench. Really help steady this team.
Kristen Confroy is the other senior for the Terps. And A'ja Wilson from the outside.
And that's one thing A'ja talked about that she'd really worked on in the offseason, was just expanding her game, becoming more, she's already been versatile, but really becoming more versatile. And Dawn Staley knowing she can't just keep her on the low block. She's too easy to defend down there. So really making the defense be aware of her at the high post, at the short corner.
Coming up Tuesday on ESPN, the exclusive reveal of the College Football Playoff Top 25 rankings at 9 Eastern between the Champions Classic men's games we just talked about at United Center. It also streams live on the ESPN app as the football season dwindles down. And 4 teams going into the national playoff. Alabama just escaped with a win against Mississippi State last weekend, and there's a whistle and a 3-second violation. We go inside of 2 minutes in the first quarter. Small. Boy, A'ja Wilson almost forced another turnover. 17 seconds left on the shot clock.
And that's where A'ja Wilson has really improved her game defensively. She's up and in passing lanes. She gets a lot of tips, a lot of steals.
Already has the South Carolina career record in blocks. Several other records will most likely go by the wayside in this her senior season, and a foul called underneath against South Carolina with just 6 seconds left on the shot clock.
And this is something Maryland wants to do. You know, they're not as big as they were last year, but they've got great speed, and their posts can put it on the deck. So that was a concern for South Carolina. They talked about, Dawn Staley talked about, we've got to keep them out of the paint. We know they can drive to the basket. Got to get those bigs really attacking. That's when they're going to be at their best.
Frazier goes 2 for 2 from the free throw line. Herbert Harrison turned around and found herself wide open, and that's just classic A'ja Wilson, isn't it? Gets the rebound and uses that dominant left hand to finish.
Yeah, that's always nice when you can count on somebody to clean up your mess when you miss a shot.
Oh, and then on the other end, Maryland counters. Sarah Myers, who got to start against Albany in game 1 at the point, but she's more of a natural 2. Freshman Bianca Jackson answers on the other end. She was the state's high school player of the year in Alabama last season.
And both of her parents are coaches.
In fact, she played in their opener against Alabama State. Her mom, Frida, is the head coach at Alabama State, and her little girl went out and helped beat them. Whistle away from the ball, and they're going to get a holding call as Frazier's trying to defend Wilson. Actually, give the foul is on Kyla Charles. Check that for Maryland. Over the limit, so A'ja Wilson heads to the free throw line. And she was there often last year, averaging over 6 attempts per game at the line. Is she your National Player of the Year right now, the clear-cut favorite? What do you think?
Right now, she's my Player of the Year, yes, definitely going into this season. She's proven herself, not just the skill level, but the heart, the grit, the determination. When you put a team on your back and you say, she was not going to be refused that national championship.
She was the most outstanding player of the Final Four. Also had a terrific SEC final when they were fighting tooth and nail against Mississippi State, the team they ultimately took care of in the national championship game. So here we go. Final seconds waning, and Maryland is just a jump shooting team. And they are not doing it very well so far. And finishing, Lindsey Spann right before the quarter comes to a close, and it was a good one for South Carolina as they lead it by 16. When we come back, she was pretty good at South Carolina. Alicia Gray joins us in College Park. Alicia Gray had a great ending to last season, winning a national championship with South Carolina, and then a terrific year as she was the Rookie of the Year as the #4 overall pick for the Dallas Wings, doing it from all over the court. And we are joined by Alicia Gray, who is here in College Park. And Alicia, first, thanks for doing this for us. And well, first off, your team is off to a great start.
Oh, yeah, they're doing well, rebounding well, playing well as a team. I mean, it's just the South Carolina way.
Well, that's nice. Well, you've been on a whirlwind tour. Like, how's it been? Rookie of the Year in the WNBA. How was that transition?
I mean, it's been great so far. I mean, definitely transition to the WNBA. It's a big deal because the game is a lot more physical. But once you get the physical aspect down, I mean, the transition was pretty smooth after that.
And you still had 1 year of eligibility left when you left South Carolina. I know you've gone over this before, but it turned out to be a really good decision. No regrets?
No, I mean, winning Rookie of the Year, I have no regrets at all.
I think it worked out pretty well for you.
And now you're finishing up your degree?
I am, yeah. I'm going back. My major is broadcast journalism, so I have to go back and finish my degree up in the journalism school at the University of South Carolina.
So you're trying to take our job? Is that
this is part of her audition process.
It's a cool job to have.
Yeah, he's working for a living.
So,
so no overseas basketball for you? What's your plan in the winter? Just keep going to school?
Yeah. Right now I'm doing a class now, but in the spring, that's when I have to be in the journalism school basically all day, working in the studio and doing stuff like that.
Oh.
Yeah, so that should be fun. I'm excited.
Get in front of the camera. Now, you also, Elena Coates and Kayla Davis also went to the WNBA. Now, have you been around a lot and seen much of the new team yet? I know it's early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to all the home games so far, and they look really well together. Yeah, 2 of them, yeah. Well, they look really well together, and this should be a very exciting season for them.
What do you think the expectation should be realistically? Because I know Gamecock Nation is listening, and you win a national championship, a lot of new faces, but the bar, you guys raised the bar as high as it can go.
I mean, we just have to, or they have to take each game one at a time, not look ahead of the game, and just take the season step by step and not rush anything. But I'm pretty sure Gamecocks will have a great season this year.
You're actually talking like a coach right now, so are you sure you don't want to go into coaching?
No, coaching's not for me.
Speaking of coaching, what was it like playing for Dawn Staley? You started your career at North Carolina and then went south of the border. What was that like playing for Dawn?
It's great. She's definitely a legend of the game. She taught me a lot. Even I still talk to her now about the WNBA, and she's given me a lot of pointers of how to handle the game. I mean, Coach Staley's a legend. I was just glad that I was able to play for her.
Now, would she contact you unsolicited? Will she maybe text you and give you some advice, or is it more the other way where you ask her for advice?
It was kind of both ways.
Cool.
I would text her. I mean, she watched the game, so she'll text after the game like "good job" and stuff like that. But I mean, I definitely look up to somebody like Coach Staley. I mean, she's a pioneer of the game, and like you can't do nothing but listen when she talks. I mean, she's just a great overall person.
This is Alicia Gray we are speaking with, who was at South Carolina when they won a national championship in the WNBA Rookie of the Year. And both of these teams that we're watching right now, Maryland lost a lot of starters as well. But look at this score, 32-13. Doesn't look like there's much of a transition.
Yeah, Gamecocks, they blending well together right now. They're looking too nice.
Now, we know what we're going to get out of A'ja Wilson, but what is it? Who's the player that you think could really surprise people this year?
It's a couple players that I think will surprise you this year. Ty, I mean, she had a great freshman year. Bianca Cuevas when she gets healthy. Dunye, I call her my X Factor because she's just a sneak up on you. And Lindsay, I mean, she's just a great shooter. But overall, I mean, Let's coming back being off her redshirt year, I mean, overall, they're just an overall exciting team to watch. I don't want to leave anybody out.
You pretty much have named everybody, yeah, so that's good. You should be a coach.
That was a technical foul called against South Carolina's Herbert Harrigan, and Confoy was able to hit both free throws for Maryland. And from the outside, a much-needed three as Blair Watson hits her second triple of the night. And fans trying to get into it. You never played in this building, right?
I haven't. I've never played in there. It's a nice gym, though.
Well, Coach Staley talked about when she played long, long ago when she was at Virginia, and it was 1 versus 2.
I know that was an exciting game.
Oh, yeah. She said they had to call the fire marshal.
Yeah, it was at Cole Fieldhouse, and they literally, it was overflowing, and it was 1 versus 2, and Virginia beat Maryland by 1. And Coach Staley thought she didn't have a very good game. She had 19 points. Yeah, like,
that's Coach Staley for you.
never good enough, right? So just to clarify, the technical on Herbert Harrigan was for taunting. Does that sound like Kiki to you?
Yeah, when
it
she
does.
blocked shots, yeah.
Asia Wilson back at the line. Asia Wilson going to be in the WNBA last year. I don't know whether you heard, but Las Vegas, the former San Antonio team that moved to Vegas, they won the draft lottery, so they will have the #1 overall pick. You think she would be a good pick if you're
yeah.
GM?
Yeah. I'd love to have her in Dallas, but yeah, Asia's definitely a great player. I mean, she's such a threat because she can dribble the ball, shoot jump shots, and post up. So, I mean, you can't read her. You just got to just play her. I mean, she's just an all-around great player, All-American.
And a good teammate.
Oh, yeah, great teammate.
She wants the ball now. Maryland is undersized, and they got it into her. It looked like Small gave her a little bit of a push from underneath. Very difficult to defend, Asia Wilson.
Yeah, 6'5", yeah.
But you can see, I think offensively, Maryland's starting to get a little bit more comfortable. You can see him down on the offensive end. And this is without Kyla Charles. Right. She's the one with the most experience coming back. She's been really sidelined with 2 fouls the entire first half, only played 3 minutes.
And has not even taken a shot for the Terrapins. And another foul called underneath against Maryland. Pam Ward-Gale Gestencourt is joined by WNBA Rookie of the Year Alicia Gray, who is here watching her defending national champions come in here. And so far they are handling Maryland up by 13. South Carolina coming up in early December will play a game at home against Duke, and on February 1st they host Connecticut.
Yeah, exciting game.
Both teams playing just their 2nd regular season games of the season. Do you miss playing with these players, or you just passed it?
I mean, having a great WNBA season, kind of not making me miss college, but I mean, just my teammates, period, I miss them a lot, yeah.
Maryland heating up. Blair Watson with another big 3.
Trims the lead down to 10. South Carolina's only scored 5 points so far in this quarter. And there's a tie-up. Maryland fighting back as they trail now by 10. South Carolina has gone almost 3.5 minutes without a field goal. Now they look like they miss you. Dawn Staley trying to get the right pieces to fit. Having to replace over 50% of her scoring from last season, and Maryland gives the ball up again. Spann, you talked about her, Alicia. She's a great pickup for South Carolina.
Just a lights-out shooter. I mean, great shooter.
Transfer from Penn State.
They got Asia Wilson with the hook. Yeah, you can feel that momentum shifting. Getting the ball inside. Asia, everybody knows, and they play her to go to the left hand.
Now here's, you just saw Asia Wilson gather the team together, becoming more of a leader this year, having to be more vocal.
Yeah, she definitely has to be more vocal this year. She's one of the most experienced players on the court right now. So, I mean, as being a senior, I mean, this year it's got to be big for her.
Myers at the free throw line now for the Terrapins. But Asia Wilson also, in addition to being maybe the National Player of the Year this year, she's got a great personality, right? Fun personality.
Oh, yeah. I was Asia's roommate, actually. So
I mean, she's just a great overall person. I mean, we just goofy together and laugh all the time. I mean, she's just a great person to get to know.
Wilson out rebounds everybody and then left it just a little bit short, but continues to fight, won't be denied. Asia's upset she didn't score the basket, but that's just an example of her great extra effort.
Yeah, she's definitely a hard worker.
And those are the plays that go from good to great. The great players that separate themselves from all others are those that make that second effort.
Frazier with the foul. Wilson back at the free throw line. And she hits them both. Gets the lead back up to 10. So Maryland was able to nip it down to an 8-point advantage.
Yeah, they're definitely good at stealing basketballs.
Gagne wasn't able to finish, but a good follow by Alexis Jennings. It's one of the things Klein is known for.
Yeah, great defensive player.
And you can see Maryland, it's point guard by committee. They've got Myers running the point now. Both of their point guards are inexperienced. So against great pressure, that's where they're going to struggle.
Alexis Jennings goes back to back.
And Jennings is having a very quiet and efficient evening.
She's got 12 points. A'ja Wilson has 10. And we have a timeout, 12-point advantage for South Carolina. Thank you, Alicia Gray. We'll see you in season 2 in Dallas.
Thanks for having me.
There's a timeout on the floor.
Thank you very much. And yes, congratulations to Bill Lambier, the new head coach and general manager of Las Vegas. They have won the draft lottery. And as Deb Antonelli alluded to, we could be looking at that player right now, number 22 in black, A'ja Wilson. She definitely is going to be high on everybody's draft board.
Yeah, she's so versatile. Her game is going to flourish in the WNBA, where you can't really double as easily as you can in college or triple team. They've got a defensive 3 seconds rule, so it makes it much more difficult. So she's going to get a lot of one-on-one, a lot of freedom wherever she goes.
Maryland trims it down to a 10-point advantage. South Carolina led by as many as 19 at the beginning of the second quarter. But the Terps have fought back valiantly, and they've done that. Shanice Lewis, we talked about that true freshman point guard getting her first start, and she's not seen a lot of minutes so far.
No, and I think, you know, it's the teaching. It's always going to be teaching for the young freshmen. Nice job defensively. South Carolina not aware of the shot clock.
A'ja Wilson passed it with about 2 seconds left and then patted her chest, the universal symbol for my fault. But the other players also were not cognizant. You got to give Maryland some credit here, right? I mean, they were down big by 19 to the defending national champs. Brenda Frese trying some different pieces to the puzzle, and they've responded.
Yes, and Kyla Charles back in. That's all right. You want her to be aggressive. Go to the basket.
A'ja Wilson, more blocks than anybody in South Carolina history, was able to swat it away. Outside, Pliny, a little bit too strong, but Asia's right there and then goes down. And another foul coming against the Terrapins, and they get it for Blair Watson. Watson, like Stephanie Jones, was not totally healthy in her freshman year last year. And Blair has hit 3 threes for Maryland tonight. That helps get him back in it. And A'ja Wilson is... She'd have to start paying rent at that free throw line. She keeps getting back there so often.
Well, she's so active on the offensive glass. She's hard to box out. And 9 times out of 10, if you get an offensive rebound, you're going to get fouled on the putback.
And like my partner, Gail Gestencourt, she can rap the entire Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song. Did you know that? Did you
I did not know
her,
that. No, but I think I can, which is kind of scary.
Wow. Confoy got into a lot of trouble. She probably walked, didn't get called for it, but missed the shot. Confoy, a pre-med major for the Terrapins. Wilson able to catch the deflection, and boy, she's so strong. Able to get up and get the shot away, and got fouled yet again. Coming up tomorrow night, the 7th annual State Farm Champions Classic from United Center in Chicago. Men's basketball at its finest. Number 1 Duke takes on number 2 Michigan State, followed by Kentucky and Kansas. Great night of hoops also streams live on the ESPN app. That is tomorrow night, starting at 7 Eastern time. So A'ja Wilson just shot her 9th free throw of the game, and we're not even at halftime yet.
And that's what great players do. They find a way to get it done. Early on, she wasn't getting touches. She doesn't get down. She stays active and gets on the offensive glass.
Wilson with 15 points, 8 of them coming from the free throw line. Outside, Charles still not able to get her first points of the night. That, in fact, was her first shot.
And usually not the shot you want early on. She's worked on that three-point shot, but you want to let it come to you. She needs to be driving to the basket. Sometimes when you get a shot blocked, you get gun-shy, but she's got to stay aggressive.
Now foul in the backcourt coming up against South Carolina. And Kleine. That is her second personal foul. Both teams in the bonus. And that sends Charles to the free throw line. Kyla is from Glendale, Maryland, not far from here. And a lot is expected of this sophomore. Averaged just under 10 points a game, the leading returning scorer for the Terrapins, who lost Brianna Jones and Shatori Walker-Kimbrough to the WNBA, and Destiny Slocum, the terrific freshman point guard who transferred and will be eligible for Oregon State next year. And that was a huge hit, losing her.
She's not only a great player, but she had the ball in her hands so much of the time. So you already lost some players, some great players to the WNBA, and now you also lost your starting point guard. So that was a tough blow, and it's just going to take some time to adjust.
Under 2 minutes now, and there's a three-point shot buried by Bianca Jackson, freshman from Montgomery. And Maryland has some help on the way in the second semester when Eliana Kristanaki, the transfer from Florida, will be eligible, and that will certainly help them. Eliana is not here. She's playing for Greece in Eurobasket qualifiers, but she will be here within the next few days. And December 20th, when they play Coppin State, a team in Baltimore, Maryland will have her, and that's a player they sorely need.
Yeah, they're going to be an entirely different team when we see them in January after Kristanaki gets comfortable. She got to practice with them at the end of last year once she transferred. Not only an outstanding player, but she's got that confidence that you need that elevates the confidence of her teammates.
Maryland playing some zone, and they're able to get it right into A'ja Wilson, who says, "Thank you, Ty Harris. That was a heck of a pass."
Ty Harris knows she just needs to throw it up, and A'ja Wilson's going to go get it.
Maryland's upcoming schedule: UConn coming up Sunday on ESPN from Hartford, Connecticut. And UConn is I would say, the overwhelming favorite to win the national championship this year, and that's a huge early test for the Terps. Stephanie Jones forcing the turnover. Inside, nice look. That was a very nice pass.
Yeah, great passing. I feel like Myers is really giving them great minutes when she's come off the bench. Confoy just had a nice pass into the post as well. Really sharing the ball well.
Yeah. Myers is giving them a boost since coming in to play the point for Lewis. And natural 2 guard who's been flopped over to the 1 out of necessity. And Maryland has the ball with the shot clock turned off. Charles gave it up. Harris, another assist to A'ja Wilson, and that ends the first half. South Carolina led by as many as 19, and they will take a 15-point cushion into the half. A'ja Wilson doing a lot of the damage, 18 points, 8 of them coming from the free throw line. And for Maryland, nobody in double figures as of yet. So Maryland down 51-36 at the half. Time to go to the studio. John Brickley and Deb Antonelli have it all. After one half of play, South Carolina leads Maryland 51-36. Let's take a look at some first half highlights. A'ja Wilson was brilliant. Maryland fell behind by 19 points, and then Maryland able to come back and chip away. And A'ja Wilson in that first half, 18 points, 6 rebounds, a couple of blocks. Pam Ward along with Hall of Fame Gail Gestenkors, and it was Wilson, the senior, and Jennings, the transfer from Kentucky, that did a lot of damage.
Well, you can always count on A'ja Wilson. Did a nice job. She was patient early, didn't get the ball, but really worked the offensive glass, got to the free throw line, and then her team found her late.
Maryland was able to chip what had been. Maryland had chipped away from what was a 19-point lead, got it all the way down to single digits, but then South Carolina was able to work it back. They were outscored by only 1 point in that second quarter. Both teams coming in with a lot of new faces from last season. This is the second game of the year for the defending national champions, who beat Alabama State handily 3 days ago, 99-31. And A'ja Wilson not quite tall enough for that pass.
And I can guarantee you Brenda Frese talked to her team about rebounding in that halftime locker room, because that is an emphasis. That is who they usually are, and they were out-rebounded by 9 in that first half.
Maryland last year, second in the nation in rebounding margin. The year before that, they were #1 in the country, but they lost so many pieces. Brianna Jones, who averaged a double-double most prominently, and the point guard, Destiny Slocum. Boy, and that's Stephanie Jones, Brianna's younger sister, who missed a bucket that she knows she should have hit.
And when you're playing outstanding teams, you've got to hit those shots.
A'ja Wilson's almost automatic under there, 20 points. She only played 14 minutes in that whitewashing of Alabama State we talked about. How about 14 minutes, excuse me, and she scored 16 points. And Wilson has scored 10 of South Carolina's last 13 points, and that's when we talk about Maryland getting to within single digits. Your All-American takes over. Turnovers have hurt Maryland. And that is a foul on Taisha Harris, even though she might not agree. Sarah Myers has given Coach Brenda Frese some quality minutes at the point.
Yeah, and really doing a nice job. That's good defense, good hustle. And if you're going to make a comeback, you've got to do it with defense. You got to get some tips, you got to get some steals, but you got to take care of the ball on the other end of the floor as well.
South Carolina still without the services of Bianca Cuevas-Moore, who averaged over 8 points a game last year, nursing a sore knee. Coach Staley says that she is day-to-day, but is not available, did not participate in shoot-around this morning. And Kyla Charles is not having a good night.
And that happens sometimes when you want so badly to play well. You get in foul trouble early because you're a little over-aggressive. Then you sit on the bench, and now starting the second half, she wants to make a difference. She's pressing.
And now South Carolina has matched its biggest lead of the night, 55-36. Maryland takes a timeout. We will as well.
Let's get it. College hoops are here, big time. Boom! It's #1 Duke versus number 2 Michigan State, number 4 Kansas, battling it out with Kentucky. One night, 2 blockbuster matchups with the college football playoffs, top 25 in between games.
Welcome back to College Park. South Carolina scored the first 4 points of this second half, and Maryland took a timeout. Both teams playing their second games of the season.
Yeah, and Coach Freeze was not happy, and I can't blame her. Her returning players really need to step up, and you saw she just inserted Aisha Small into the game, instant offense, but she took Kyla Charles out, one of their best players, but not having a great game. So these early games are all about teaching players what the expectations are.
Kyla Charles just 1 of 5. She does have 4 points. At the University of Maryland, both teams actually losing 3 of their top 4 scorers from last year. And Dawn Staley relying on a couple of transfers, and Jennings and Spann, who are starting for her. So experienced replacements.
Well, and the difference is the 3 of the top 4 leading scorers, they were the top 3 scorers for South Carolina, all gone. For Maryland are gone. Now South Carolina, 3 of the top 4, but you return A'ja Wilson.
Yes, and that's a nice X factor to have. And Dawn Staley to her left and screen right, we saw there is a new assistant for her, and Jolette Law, who has joined the staff at South Carolina. And she is not a new face to basketball fans, a longtime assistant at Tennessee, former head coach at Illinois.
Rutgers. Worked with Vivian Stringer for many years.
Taking the place of Nikki McCray-Penson, who is now the head coach at Old Dominion. So Jolette is a great recruiter and certainly a terrific addition to this staff. Wilson, bucket.
And that's where A'ja said she continues to look to expand her game. She wants to be able to shoot the 3 at the next level.
Jolette Law has now moved back home. She's from Florence, South Carolina, so she's less than an hour away from her mom, and she said it's like full circle for her. She's back home and sitting next to Bianca Cuevas Moore, who's nursing that sore knee, but that's a good get for South Carolina. Frazier got stuffed by Jennings. Alexis Jennings played a couple of years at Kentucky, made the all-freshman team in the SEC. A'ja Wilson, a smile on her face with the finish. The Jennings is fitting in nicely.
Yeah, Jennings doesn't do anything flashy. She just does all of the little things that you want and need as a head coach. Sets good screens, rebounds, and just finish the bunnies.
Small from the outside, misses. And Lindsey Spann, the transfer from Penn State, number 11, gives it up. Too tall for Jennings. Now the fans here at Maryland trying to get their team back into it. Watson missed off glass and then committed the foul.
And that's where you don't want one mistake to become 2 mistakes. You could see the indecision on the break. She's a beautiful shot. Just take your little pull-up jumper. The defense is there.
And to add insult to injury, that was a 3rd personal foul on Blair Watson, the sophomore from Nutley, New Jersey, who was a big-time scorer in Maryland's 2 exhibition games. And Kyla Charles trying to get things going. Maryland picked 2nd in the Big Ten behind Ohio State. Maryland has won all 3 regular season and tournament titles since they defected from the ACC and went over to the Big Ten. But this year, looking like a different story.
Yeah, they've had just a remarkable run in both the Big Ten conference play and in the tournament. They've got some growing to do to get back there again.
Wilson couldn't connect, but a good job to keep it going by Herbert Harrigan, who tipped it out. Ty Harris off the mark. Herbert Harrigan, more hustle, but then Confroy goes over and tried to get the steal, but instead that's a personal foul on Confroy.
But Confroy, she's hustling. She's trying to make things happen for her team. They need a spark right now.
When the rebounding now is plus 17 for South Carolina.
And Dawn Staley talked about it. That was their #1 priority going into this game, was rebound the basketball. They've done so.
Trying to go inside to A'ja Wilson, and another foul against the Terrapins. It's an 18-point advantage for South Carolina. A'ja Wilson from Hopkins, South Carolina, right outside of Columbia. National High School Player of the Year, and oh, what a get she was, staying home to play at South Carolina, where she was the Freshman of the Year. And then back-to-back SEC Player of the Year awards. And the Final Four Most Outstanding Player. South Carolina has never had a 4-time All-American or a National Player of the Year, and A'ja could tick both boxes this season.
I believe she will. She's been fun to watch just grow up, both on the court, off the court, becoming that leader. She's gotten bigger, stronger, expanded her game, as you see right there.
Wow. And just, she's kind of floats and flows out there, effortless. But make no mistake about it, she's a goofball. She's like a fun kid to watch. She dances around, but when she gets between the lines, when the clock is ticking, she's serious and really good.
Yeah, and she's the same way in practice. She can joke around, have fun with Coach Staley, and then as soon as they start their shoot-around, it's game time. They are ready to roll. Yes.
Ty Harris, excuse me, that's a 3. Tyesha Harris, who is the returning starting point guard, 7 assists so far, and now 8 points. Aisha Small able to drive in.
And you see Aisha Small now, she's been at the point guard the last few possessions. So this is the 3rd point guard Coach Freeze is putting in that position to see who can really run this team.
She started Shanice Lewis, the true freshman from Miami, who has seen limited minutes. We were fortunate enough to get Lewis, who had decommitted after a coaching change at Illinois, and that's 2 in a row for Harris.
And that's where Ty Harris said this summer, she said she worked on that 3-point shot, and she worked on her handles, worked on her hesitation with the ball.
And finally, flashes of brilliance from Kyla Charles, who Maryland is counting on heavily, and then a block by Frazier. Small with the height advantage, but got it knocked away. Nice play by Lindsey Spann. And then Herbert Harrigan finishes on the other end.
And that's where South Carolina is actually more mobile this year. They push the ball better, and they share the ball better. And we talked to Dawn Staley about it. I said, it just seems glaring to me that y'all are just really moving the ball well on offense and sharing it. And she said it's because nobody knows. We don't have the superstars all out there that are, trying to find their way to score. She said we've got to help one another get better.
Another fast break bucket for South Carolina leads to another Maryland timeout. Welcome back to College Park, Maryland. Pam Ward along with Gail Gestencourt, and we have seen Alexis Jennings for South Carolina, the transfer from Kentucky, make a lot of big-time contributions tonight.
Yeah, and it's been very quiet, very efficient, takes the pass. Nice job. She and A'ja have done a great job working together in that high-low. She does it on the defensive end. But just solid. When you can face up and hit that 15-foot shot, every post player in America, if you want to be a great post player, you better be able to hit that free throw line shot and the short corner shot.
Alexis Jennings played her first 2 years at Kentucky, was an all-freshman selection in the SEC in 2015, and look at those numbers. And she gets a well-deserved rest right now, and now Maryland has put back in Shanice Lewis, number 3 in white, the true freshman point guard who started this game, but has only played 6 minutes so far.
Well, yeah, and you're going to learn and grow with your little freshmen. And Kyla Charles, that's the best thing I've seen her do this game, is get into that high post area, attack the basket, use your athleticism, but go up big and strong. Don't go up expecting or worrying that it might get blocked.
Third foul on Herbert Harrigan sends Charles to the line. Just a sophomore, and she told us that she's very competitive. That's her favorite part of this process of playing basketball. And she likes that Brenda Frese has kind of put her in different roles and different spots on the floor.
And Brenda Frese gave her one of the highest compliments you could give, in that she said she reminded her a lot of Crystal Langhorne and what a great kid she was, what a great competitor she was. And Crystal Langhorne and Marissa Coleman and Christy Tolliver, all players that broke my heart in 2006 to win that national championship, are all here watching their Terrapins.
Oh, Kleine unable to bring that home. Lewis just put in, and she nails a three. That's got to be a great relief for the freshman from Miami. Brenda Frese says she's been really consistent, and that's, I think, one thing you must look for in a point guard is not to get too high or too low.
Exactly. She is just she's a great worker. She's a coach's coach, very humble. We talked to her during practice, wants to be great and just do whatever the team needs. And Coach Frese knows they may go through some growing pains as she continues to learn and grow as a point guard.
Lindsey Spann going to the free throw line now for South Carolina. And Brenda Frese was counting on having Destiny Slocum for the next 3 years. And that kind of messes everything up. It's like a chain reaction because you don't have, typically, it's a luxury to have one really good point guard, but to have two is almost unheard of.
Well, yeah, and
at the same time.
Normally, in an ideal world, you bring your freshman point guard in. She comes off the bench. She learns from a junior or senior that really knows and understands the game. And then she works her way into that role over her first couple of years.
Shot clock into single digits. Charles with another nice finish. She's starting to come alive here after a very slow start.
Yeah, really doing a much better job being aggressive and using her athleticism. South Carolina in their weave action. They'll run this against man or against zone and really looking to attack.
Good dish by Herbert Harrigan, but Lily Grisette, one of the three freshmen on this team, couldn't finish, and now Charles.
That's what we were expecting from the tip.
South Carolina, after 3 quarters of play, still with a sizable lead over Maryland, but the Terrapins showing some signs of life in the third quarter, particularly from Kyla Charles, a sophomore from Glendale, Maryland. The defending champions looking good in game 2 of this brand new season. Here are 2 of the key components from that 2006 national championship team. You already talked about Crystal Langhorne and the great composure she had, and Marissa Coleman. Remember, Coleman and Tolliver were just freshmen on that team, and Langhorne a sophomore. Sorry, Gail.
Yeah, they broke my heart. But I did have the great pleasure of coaching all 3 of them, either with USA Basketball or in the WNBA. And I'm so glad I did, because as good as they are on the court, even better people. Just love them.
And it flipped your opinion of them from probably wanting to scream when you saw them to wanting to hug them up.
Yep. Really great people.
Wilson with the shot, and Kyla Charles continues on her run for the Terrapins. Gail Gessencourt, by the way, decked out in your Duke blue tonight, representing.
We just call it blue now.
Yeah, it's royal blue. It's a beautiful blue. But that was a great championship game 11 years ago. Brenda Frese's first and only national championship so far here at Maryland, where she is in her 16th season. And Herbert Harrigan called for a foul under the basket. Quality basketball coming your way. The 7th annual State Farm Champions Classic from Chicago. #1 Duke taking on Michigan State. This is men's basketball. Then Kentucky and Kansas. Streams live also on the ESPN app coming your way tomorrow night. ESPN with some great early season matchups, both on the men's and the women's side. What about Asia Durr? What, 47 points for Asia Durr in Louisville with that overtime game in Columbus? Some great stuff.
If you didn't get to see it, get on the ESPN Watch app, and you got to watch that game.
Asia Durr should be in the National Player of the Year conversation, but we think we've got the front runner here, at least the preseason favorite in Asia Wilson.
Kelsey Mitchell.
Yeah, how about? So I think she only had 30 in that game. That's
had an off night.
Yeah. Stephanie Mavunga had, what, a 26 rebound game for Ohio State. They are the favorites to win the Big Ten, finally being the first team other than Maryland to win the Big Ten since the Terrapins entered the conference in this now their 4th season. Freshman Lily Grisette called for her 2nd personal foul. So Charles heads to the free throw line, and Brenda Frese, as we mentioned, in her 16th season here at the University of Maryland, and perhaps one of her biggest coaching challenges, other than when she first took over here, Maryland number 15 in the preseason, their lowest preseason ranking since 2011. And last season, and you alluded to this earlier in the game, they were chewing up the statistical categories last year. Yeah, this year, different story.
Really dominated, and that happens. And, you know, I don't think they're rebuilding. Both these teams, they're reloading. You know, they've got young talent, so they're going to be fine. It's going to take a while. Getting Kristanaki back is going to be key for them, and it will change the entire look of this team.
Eliana Kristanaki from Athens, transferring from Florida. She was SEC All-Freshman in 2016, and last year in just 9 games averaged 18 points a game for the Gators. Asia Wilson couldn't get it to go, and the ball comes over to Maryland. 20-point advantage for South Carolina. Their next game is Thursday when they go to Clemson, and then they take on Wofford as they get ready for what should be a good game December the 3rd on the SEC Network when they host Duke.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. Duke's got an outstanding team as well. Great backcourt, 2 50-year seniors in the backcourt.
Rebecca Greenwell, still there?
She's still there.
She has battled through some injuries and had a really very solid career at Duke. Who had a surprisingly good year last year and trying to build on that this season with Coach McCauley and company. It's been a rather physical game tonight. As Alexis Jennings comes up holding her head. Lisa Mattingly, Tina Napier, Alicia Grinter, 3 of the veterans of our game, doing the officiating tonight. Kyla Charles was just called for her 3rd personal foul. Another timeout on the floor. South Carolina comfortably up by 18.
South Carolina calls a 30-second timeout.
Let's get it. College hoops are here. Big time. Boom. It's #1 Duke versus #2 Michigan State. #4 Kansas. Battling it out with Kentucky. One nice, 2 blockbuster matchups with the college football playoffs, top 25 in between games.
And we are back at College Park, Maryland. Great men's basketball tomorrow night. And here the defending national champion South Carolina Gamecocks have led from the get-go in this game and are up on number 15 Maryland by 18 points. And that's a big-time bump from Lewis that sent Harris to the floor. So some encouraging things, I would think, if you're a South Carolina fan watching this. This is their first test. Maryland, the first of 9 games that South Carolina will play against preseason top 25 teams, but some encouraging signs tonight.
Well, most definitely. You always know what you're going to get from A'ja Wilson, but it's the support cast that really is impressing me. Alexis Jennings in particular with the double-double, very efficient. Lindsey Spann coming in, doing a nice job. They're going to need to hit some three-point shots as they needed to last year. And Spann 3 for 6. Ty Harris 3 for 6. So all that hard work is paying off.
4 Gamecocks in double figures: Wilson, Jennings, Spann, and Harris. A'ja Wilson with 28 points and 9 rebounds. 28 points, by the way, just 3 off her career high, which she had at Texas last year. And Alexis Jennings has spent a lot of time on the court here at Comcast Center.
I like that Maryland now, they're picking up full court, trying to change the momentum, but you're trying to get better as well and work on some different things. This is a young team. They'll continue to improve, but they need to continue to use their athleticism.
How about that move by Spann?
That's pretty nice.
A little nice ball fake.
She can do more than just hit threes.
Spann, the graduate transfer from Penn State. And Watson.
And that's a kid who Spann, scored over 1,000 points at Penn State. She was their leading scorer, so she comes in with a lot of great experiences.
1,000 points in 3 seasons. Wilson had her shot partially blocked by Frazier. And Maryland ends up with the basketball. Wilson, 3 blocks tonight. Charles, if at first you don't succeed,
go get some more offensive rebounds.
And she did just that and got fouled.
And this is a great learning game for her. This is the way she needs to play for 40 minutes.
Now, you talked about Lindsey Spann. Now, she is new for South Carolina fans, but she knows the University of Maryland very well, playing in Penn State first 3 years, and those were the numbers against Maryland. Penn State unable to beat the Terps in those 4 games, but good numbers. And she's having good numbers against them again tonight.
Yeah, she was excited about this game tonight. And she's a perfect fit in the South Carolina system. The confidence that she's playing with, the ability to shoot the 3, and also we've seen her now take the ball to the basket.
15 points and 5 rebounds so far for Spann. And there's been a lot of grabbing in the lane area tonight. And South Carolina has really dominated in the paint. Frazier picks up another foul. They're out rebounding Maryland by 13 right now.
And that's an improvement because it was up to 17.
Yeah. Frazier gets the block on Wilson, and then A'ja got bottled up and had to kick it back out. After getting her shot block, you can kind of see A'ja wanted that ball back and a chance to redeem herself, and she got fouled.
Well, yeah, and that's the difference between a great player and somebody who wants to be a great player. She gets fouled, she wants the ball back, or she gets her shot blocked, she wants it back. She's going to attack the basket, she's going to draw the foul. Other players, they get a shot block, they may shy away, start shooting those outside jumpers.
Not A'ja Wilson. Gets to the line as well as anybody in the country. And A'ja Wilson has joined Alexis Jennings in this game. Both of them have double-doubles.
And that's always a nice thing when you can get a double-double out of your 2 post players.
Outside shot. Tyler Charles heating up. A little bit too late in this game, most likely, but it's got to help her confidence heading into the season as it keeps going.
Yeah, and we've seen her now take the ball to the basket, score in the inside. Now she can take that outside shot, but I wouldn't. She started the game with a 3. That's not the way you want to start the game if you're Kyla Charles.
Charles shoots over Spann and draws another foul.
South Carolina foul, number 11, Richard Spann. That's her third.
Maryland getting out on the break. This is the team they need to be. Because they're not as big as they were last year, they're more athletic, they're faster. Push the ball, look to score in transition or get fouled in transition.
Kyla Charles comes from a very athletic family. Her mother was an Olympian in Los Angeles in 1984. She was a 400-meter runner, also was a very good long jumper. And her daughter is a fantastic basketball player. Harris missed everything. Ball was tipped. And then Small trying to get it over in the corner to Watson, threw it away.
But, you know, you can see this is the type of team Maryland wants to be. They're having more fun. They're pushing the ball. They're attacking. They're going to have some turnovers. But sometimes if you watch teams enough, they show you who they want to be. This team wants to be that running, pushing team. Whoever gets that rebound, Coach Freeze talks about, she wants to give them more freedom. Get the rebound and go. Put the pressure on the defense.
Asia Wilson back at the line. Stephanie Jones goes out in favor of Brianna Frazier. In fact, it was the breakneck pace that was one of the concerns of Dawn Staley coming into this game. Maryland's rebounding and speed. And Asia Wilson has just tied her career high. She has 31 points, had 31 in Austin last year against Texas.
Nice little ball screen. Aisha Small loves to come off ball screens. She's got a great little pull-up jumper from 15 feet. Again, South Carolina going back to their weave. And it's nice when you can have Asia Wilson, a post out there who can put the ball on the deck and go to the basket.
Just missed. Small drew the double, and that left Charles open. Kyla Charles had only 4 points at halftime, and she has given this crowd plenty to cheer about. Here in this second half, the lead is down to 10 with just over 3 minutes left and a timeout taken by South Carolina. Tonight, after the Dolphins and Panthers finish up on Monday Night Football, join Maryland graduate Scott Van Pelt on SportsCenter as he talks to 2 legendary basketball coaches about tomorrow's Champions Classic, checking in on the Warriors, who have now won 9 of their last 10. SportsCenter, 11:30 Eastern, streams live on the ESPN app. SVP is often seen here in College Park when he's not up in Bristol doing what he does.
Pam Ward, another Maryland graduate. That's before they had like academic standards here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You check cleared, you got in. That's what happened back in the 1800s. You got to give credit to this crowd here. Most of them have stayed and they're enthusiastic. It was a whiteout game for Maryland as they gave out a lot of white t-shirts.
And I give credit to Brenda Freeze with sticking with her team. She picked up that full court defensive pressure, really changed the momentum of the game. Kyla Charles then really taking over, becoming the player we know she is, but being that aggressive go-to player for Maryland.
Small whistled for the foul. So obviously it's a long season. This is just the second game of a season that will extend into March. But right now, as Brenda Freeze, you're always coaching for the future. I mean, this is a team, and you think that Maryland will be a totally different team once we get to let's say, February.
No doubt. You know, these are all the games you want to play early because you want someone to expose your weaknesses, find out what they are now, so you can rectify them before conference play.
Just over 3 minutes to go as Kleine heads to the free throw line. South Carolina has shot 19 free throws. Now 20, and A'ja Wilson has shot 14 of the 20. Maryland tries to cut it to single digits, and Lewis draws a foul.
And that's what we talked about, just being able to get the rebound, take the ball coast to coast, and attack the basket. Really put the pressure on the defense. Charles is really using her athleticism in this second half and her aggression to her advantage.
Kyla told us that her teammates really pushed her in the offseason, trying to build chemistry, knowing that they would have to lean on her a lot this year. Maryland also had a trip into Taiwan. They were there for 2.5 weeks and for the World University Games, and they seemed to bond together well then. And Maryland has cut it to single digits for the first time since about 5 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Foul called on the inbound holding. And that's where it's tough because your team's aggressive. They've got the momentum, picking up full court.
Brenda Frese talking to Lewis, her freshman point guard.
And this is a grow-up game for Lewis as well. You know, she started at the point, and then Brenda took her out early. And part of it was probably because of her defense. She wasn't running the team the way it needed to be run. Didn't put her in till well into the third quarter. Now here she is, crunch time.
And Comfroy dials up the three. Her first bucket of the second half.
And the one player you don't want to leave open is Comfroy. She hits those big shots consistently.
About 80% of her shots last year were from the three-point line. The chant of defense. And that's a travel. Maryland could nip it down to 5.
Just really impressive. Dawn Staley not happy. Get the ball into your All-American.
Lewis kicks it out. Watson missed everything. And an opportunity for Lewis, but she missed underneath, and a jump ball called, a held ball. And the possession arrow is in favor of Maryland.
Great job. Getting the tie up.
And then Frazier challenged A'ja Wilson, and A'ja won that challenge. We're inside 2 minutes.
And let's see if A'ja Wilson gets a touch this possession.
Wilson.
Ty Harris, she knows who to go to with the ball.
A'ja fouled on the move by Frazier.
And you know A'ja Wilson's going to find a way to try to score, and you can see Frazier just tied her up. Had her arm right around her waist right there.
And Brianna Frazier has just fouled out for the Terrapins.
And down the stretch, and I know it was in the pregame plan was to double Wilson down on that low block, so there was no double. You got to bring the double early and often with Wilson.
And A'ja Wilson with that basket, and that free throw has just set a new career high in scoring with 32 points. And they get Kleine for going over the back. This has become a foul fest.
And this is where, for South Carolina as well, these players, other than A'ja Wilson and Ty Harris, they have not been in this situation before. When it was a tight game, they were cheering from the bench. And now they've got to make the right decisions with the basketball. They've got to not foul. They've got to play smart down the stretch.
Well, Stephanie Jones with Maryland in the bonus gets to the line. She's had a relatively quiet night. That's her first point of the second half. Jones, a sophomore from Havre de Grace, north of here. South Carolina has gone almost 5 minutes without a field goal.
And I give credit to the Maryland defense.
Maryland trailed by as many as 26 points in this game. And that was with about 2.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. And Brenda Frese, she had a little smile on her face. This has got to feel good to see your guys, your players fight back and not give up.
Well, early on, that's what you find out what your team is made of. So you're exactly right. Brenda Frese has to feel good about the fight in her team.
And the officials have now gone over to the monitor.
And Lisa Mattingly said they're looking at the clock. It's a timing issue. They want to make sure they have the correct time on this clock.
So it gives both Brenda Frese and Dawn Staley a free timeout.
And Dawn Staley was not happy. She went after some of her players. And looking at the replay, we can't tell what the time was at that point. They're looking to see who did the ball go off with and how much time was left on the clock.
So it's been ruled that it is South Carolina ball, and Lisa Mattingly came over and said they were looking definitely to make sure who it was off of. And they're saying that Maryland last touched it. Harris, who was a freshman point guard last year, picked up all that experience that you talked about, a key component in your national championship run.
And really a good job moving the ball, trying to get it into A'ja Wilson. They gave her the entire key area to herself so she could go one-on-one. Gets fouled.
Maryland already has 2 players who have fouled out and now make it 3. Aisha Small, Brianna Frazier, and now Stephanie Jones have fouled out. Can we call this the A'ja Wilson factor?
Absolutely. I mean, she's so big and strong inside, and more than anything, it's her constant movement.
Brenda Frese is going to try a variety of players on Wilson, and Maryland is not the tallest team in the world. Frazier at 6'3", Jones at 6'2". 2 of the taller players have fouled out, along with Small.
Yeah, Wilson's got the size advantage, and she also knows how to use it. And like we said earlier, a lot of these fouls came on offensive rebounds as well. 7 offensive rebounds for Wilson.
A'ja not happy that you missed both of those free throws, and it's still a 2-possession game. And then South Carolina brings the trap. How smart is that? They trap the freshman point guard. And they get a held ball, and possession arrow, South Carolina.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that call. We had the same angle Lisa Mattingly had, and Lisa didn't make that call, so that was a quick jump ball.
Now Dawn Staley calls the play from the sideline. As we hit a minute.
Yeah, it's the same set. Clearing it out, trying to give A'ja that block inside. Maryland chooses to foul Kleining, make her hit those free throws, putting her on the free throw line.
Third foul on Confroy.
At the line for South Carolina, Danye Kleining.
Danye Kleining's turn to shoot free throws. getting extended minutes. Did not get a lot of minutes last year because there was a little bit of talent there in Alicia Gray and Kayla Davis playing minutes ahead of her. But Kleine had a career-high 15 in the season opener against Alabama State. Maryland needs the points, and that's a foul on Herbert Harrigan.
Nice job executing by Maryland. Run a little horn set. Getting Charles down low and let her work.
Now Herbert Harrigan has fouled out. So we've had 4 players foul out tonight, 3 of them for Maryland. And Alexis Jennings comes in to replace Herbert Harrigan. 47.7 seconds left. South Carolina trying to hang on and go to 2-0 on the season.
And let's see if Maryland chooses to foul Kleine again. If I'm Maryland as a coach, I go for one quick trap, try to get a steal. If not, then you got to get a quick early foul.
Kleine was only a 58% free throw shooter last year. Maryland down by 5. We have a quick timeout. Let's go back to the studio. John is there with Deb. Do you want to speculate what she's talking about because we can't hear her?
Yeah.
And we are back. Brenda Frese talking to her team. What do you think she's drawing up here?
Well, they're going to pick up full court. I think they're going to look for a quick trap if they can get it. They may foul Kleine. If not, they may try to just they've been full court pressing. It's been successful for them. But they can't let, obviously, South Carolina's been trying to run the clock down, get the ball inside. So they can't let 30 seconds run off the clock. So stay aggressive. And then offensively, she's talking about getting the ball back into Charles and attacking. If they get the ball in transition, just attack, go to the rim, get to the free throw line. Dawn Staley has chosen to advance the ball.
Trying to get it into Wilson. And it was knocked out of bounds. Ball stays with South Carolina.
And really great defense by Maryland. That was a tough pass and a dangerous pass.
And Maryland now, as you look just down the floor, how undersized they are now. We mentioned that Frazier and Jones fouling out. And a relatively small team has gotten even smaller. Wilson gets it inside to Jennings, who can't collect it and put it home.
And really surprised that Wilson didn't pull it out, run some clock.
Lewis found a lane, took it, and scored. Three-point game. Maryland needs a stop, and a foul is called as Harris took it to the basket.
And again, Harris, that point guard, she's had these experiences before. She knows her defender's behind her. She splits the defense, goes to the basket.
And they're counting the basket here. What do you think?
I'm surprised they're counting the basket. I thought it was still on the floor.
That is a huge call to count the basket. And Harris could very well have put this out of reach with the three-point play.
And right now, Dawn, she's just trying to settle her team down. They're saying, we got to get one stop defensively. One stop. Everybody talk. No fouls. They may look to switch on screens. We saw Maryland earlier in their shoot-around working on some flare screens to get three-point shots. So I'd expect maybe to see one of those flare screens. If not, they'll take it right to the basket and get the quick two. But defensively, keep everybody in front of you. Do not foul the jump shooter. And they may switch on some ball screens. Last time we saw a ball screen, we saw South Carolina trap that ball screen. They may look to trap it again. I wouldn't at this point because you don't want to get a foul called and put them on the free throw line.
Maryland trailed by 19 points heading into the fourth quarter. Got it down to a one-possession game. And now they got to score in a hurry. Wilson called for the foul on another drive by Charles.
And we talked about what a great job Wilson has done getting to the free throw line. Well, in the second half, Charles has done equally as well getting to that free throw line.
Very encouraging second half for Charles.
And again, the ability to score with the clock stopped.
Look at the numbers. That's by far a career high for her. 30 points for the sophomore from Glendale, Maryland. Her previous career high was 19 about a year ago against Washington State. 4-point lead, and South Carolina uses its final timeout.
And what's impressive about Charles scoring all those points is in the first half, she had 4 points.
So 26 points in the last 19-plus minutes.
And she was in Brenda Freese's doghouse for a while. Now she's in the penthouse.
Yes.
She made the move quickly.
Yeah. So Maryland does have some good three-point shooters on their team. Kristen Confoy, one of the best last year. Blair Watson has knocked down some threes tonight for the Terrapins. In fact, 4 of them.
Yeah, Watson's really improved her game, playing with so much more confidence this year.
Was not at 100% health last year. 16 points against Albany in the season opener, including 4 threes. There's Blair.
And again, Dawn Staley advances the ball. This year you get to pick which side you want to take the ball out of bounds. It's a change from last season. And you can see she's got 2 players in the backcourt. She wants to spread the floor out. Maryland's got to get a steal or foul.
And a foul right away as Lewis gives Harris just a little nudge.
Really smart by Dawn Staley. She put 2 players in the backcourt, allowed her other players that she wanted to get to the ball to. Ty Harris, A'ja Wilson, those 2 gave them freedom to get open on their own.
And for those of you tuning in to see Missouri taking on Wagner, that game has already tipped off. Right now you can switch over to ESPN News to see the beginning of that ball game. And as soon as we're finished here in College Park, Missouri and Wagner will be here on ESPN2. Harris hitting some key free throws after Maryland nudged back into the game late. Another timeout here. Let's quickly go back to the studio. Thank God. Okay, so thank you very much. Just 18.9 seconds left. Both teams out of timeouts now. A'ja Wilson with the new career high tonight in scoring. The same for Tyesha Harris. And we have seen that from Kyla Charles with a 30-point game for Maryland. Nice scoring game.
And this is going to be a great teaching tape for both teams. We saw the best of South Carolina, and now we've seen them be a little shaky down the stretch. And Maryland didn't play well early, but now we've seen great fight from them.
Both teams having to replace over half of their scoring from last year. Charles missed off glass, and that should do it. Myers still fouling. But a great fight for Maryland. Down by as many as 26. Again, trailed by 19 heading into the fourth quarter. Made it a one-possession game. And did it with 2 of their starters. And then fouling out, and another one foul out as well. They'll get Elena Kristanaki in January. And South Carolina is going to get Cuevas Moore back healthy, and they will also get Taya Cooper, the transfer from Tennessee. The waiver not yet put in, but the South Carolina folks are very hopeful they will have her in the second semester to help things when the new year hits. But the defending champions take care of Maryland, stemming a threat and winning it by the final of 94-86. Dawn Staley's team goes to 2-0. Maryland drops to 1-1. For all of us here at Maryland, Pam Ward for Gail Gestencourt, for our entire crew, thanks for watching.